The Valley of Fear, Act 1, Scene number 8. This scene is very important in context of the clues which we are going to have in disclosed in this scene. Maybe they would be red herrings or they would be leading towards the murderer. Here, a point is very much sure that a murderer, if there is a murderer there, has entered in Burlstone Manor, committed the murder, and then left unnoticed. This is a strange thing which we are going to see in this scene, and we are going to find out more information. We are going to know more about the murder and the murderer. And here we can see Mason and Sergeant Wilson are there for investigation. Ames, who is butler of the family, and Barker, who is a friend of Mr. Douglas and Mrs. Douglas, is there and answering. Both of them, Ames and Barker, they are answering investigative questions from Mason and Sergeant Wilson. Mason has disclosed that if drawbridge was raised last night, then where the murderer has gone, and he is assuming that the drawbridge was raised last night. Okay, when we move on to the discussion, and then Sergeant Wilson is of the view that maybe Mr. Douglas must have shot himself, so he is pointing towards a suicide attempt. So you can say that in a decisively manner, he is thinking that maybe Mr. Douglas has committed suicide because the murderer who has entered in Burlstone Manor unnoticed and went unnoticed, that cannot happen. And why it cannot happen? Because it's a moat. There is no connection between Burlstone Manor and the outer world if that drawbridge was raised. If that drawbridge was raised, then how come a murderer and intruder went into the Burlstone Manor, committed murder, and then where he has disappeared? So this point is making Sergeant Wilson think that it can be a suicide. But Mason has he came to know that there is a boot mark, and that boot mark was pointed by Barker. He has revealed and has pointed out the presence of a boot mark which was smudged in blood on the windowsill. So this is what Barker has pointed out, and Mason has looked at it as well. So this is also something very strange, that whose boot mark was that, whose footprint was that, you can say that, and is leading towards the, or maybe misleading towards the murder. Let's see in the coming scenes that what is going to happen there. Then very important thing that Sergeant Wilson has pointed, that there are more boot marks behind the curtain and muddy ones as well. It means that it is pointing to towards this thing that somebody has entered, and his shoes were muddy, and then after the murder you see that the boot marks were smudged in blood. So this is what has pointed out here as well. The next thing which we are finding in this scene, and that is that if Barker is pointing and he is taking up the idea that the man was waiting and shot Mr. Douglas, and this is what was mentioned there. And Ames has said that windows were closed, that house every night windows were closed. Then again there is a point of discussion and point to ponder upon, that then where the murderer has come from. The next thing which we are going to notice is the hammer, the presence of hammer, and the presence of the card as well, card which is having written VV341. It is referring to something happened in the past, or a link which is there, and we can see that there is a connection between VV, and we can think of that it is Vamsa Valley and 341. And if we look at C number 1, page number C number 1, page number 17, Scallon has mentioned this address, that is Lodge 341, Vermissa Valley, and this is where was the Bodymaster used to live and have all his activities going on. Okay, now this is a connection. And about the hammer, we come to know that Mr. Douglas was fixing some photographs on the wall, that's why he has used that. And then there is a very strange thing which we come to know, and Ames is mentioning that the wedding ring is missing. Wedding ring is missing, and that is a very important clue towards the murder, as we come to know that there was a conversation, there was a talk in town about the relationship of Mr. and Mrs. Douglas, and now missing of this wedding ring is pointing out the connection, maybe, and that can be a clue, or it can be red herring, which is a misleading clue, that the absence of wedding ring in the finger of Mr. Douglas. Now here we are getting to know much clues about boot marks, about the presence of card VV341 card, and the hammer, and the missing of wedding ring. Thank you very much for listening, and we are going to discuss scene number 9 in the next video. Bye bye.